Good morning, Mexican American literature. Today's Thursday, April 23rd. Today in class, we're going to continue our study of the corrido and beginning with the father of the study of the corrido. We're going to study the work and the life of Americo Paredes, and we're going to consider his influence on ethnic studies or Chicano studies in particular, and just the study of corridos, the study of people's culture, in fact, just everyday people's culture, the things that we do that we don't consider to be important or we don't pay much attention to. People like Americo Paredes took the time to consider it and to think about why it was important. And with that, he opened an entire field of study for Mexican Americans. So, before we begin to understand why, I make a very bold statement here that we owe ethnic studies to Americo Paredes. I make a statement that you are in this class today because of Americo Paredes. Today, we're going to understand why. So, before we do that, I want to take a moment to review what we've accomplished this week. So, we are studying the corrido as a counter narrative, right? As the story that's untold, the story that goes against the popular story, specifically the story of Manifest Destiny. This is the other side of the story. So, because we're studying perspectives, we're looking at how cultural forms give us perspectives and help us understand historical events such as the Mexican American War and the annexation of California, the states of New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, etc. And we're going to note what the impact was on American culture, identity, and politics as well. So we're specifically paying attention to this idea of point of view. And we're going to take a look at the corridos and we're going to analyze the point of view of corridos. And we're going to understand the importance. Later on, we'll talk about this big word here, archetype, to understand its impact on culture. So corridos, you all know quite a bit of it, what they are. We've got just a small sample. These are the first people to turn it in. This is what they said. We also have questions. Do the people they sing about actually exist? We're going to answer that as we go. We're going to think about how corridos started and what year everything began. Where's this music more popular? How did corridos become so loved here in the United States and Mexico? We're going to consider all of that. How do artists come up with and how do they want to express their feeling through music? How did this emerge? So we're going to consider all these questions, and at the end, you're going to fill this in with everything that you learned. Okay, so yesterday you answered these 3 questions. You read this handout. You also saw the video that builds the structure. If you didn't see that video, you should, because it's really interesting how simple the form is. And there's a reason for how simple it is. The reason why it's so simple is because it should be something that anyone can do, that anyone can reproduce. The form is so simple so that it's easy to repeat. Corridos come about at a time when there was not television, where there were not news sources, where there were not newspapers, where a large amount of the population was illiterate, meaning they could not read. They could not read, however, they still wanted to know the news. And so, for that reason, corridos came about to, first of all, give out information. They're easy to remember. They rhyme because it helps people repeat it over and over and over again. And this is how you run the voice. This is how you run the story. When you don't have television, when you can't read, how are you supposed to know what's happening in the world? The way that our ancestors did that was through song. The purpose of song, besides just exploring emotions and expressing ideas, was also to give people information, much the same way that the internet does too. What's happening in the world around us, to who and why. So, corridos, then, if the group of people are people who don't have access to information, to books, to newspapers at one time, these are the people that are most voiceless in society. And corridos are there to give voice to voiceless, or to those who feel voiceless. It affirms that they have a voice. So we're going to consider um, corridos are counter narratives, and I want you to remember that word and you're going to use it. They tell the story of a group of people who didn't have a voice when all of these events were taking place, when all of a sudden their identity entirely changed. They became Mexican Americans from one night to the other. And it was very confusing. So it serves also as a protest by Chicanos because it gives another point of view to the story of Manifest Destiny. They're counter vocal, meaning they give an offer an alternative to the dominant stories. They're counter historical, so they offer an alternate consideration, a different way of looking at events and problems. And they're also counter hegemonic, so they are offering a challenge to authority of the dominant group or the dominant groups. So we study corridos because of this man. He looks like Walt Disney, but he's not. His name is Americo Paredes. Americo Paredes is the most uh, the father, or I guess we could say, of Mexican American studies. He began his work in University of Texas studying corridos because he was interested in the culture that came about as a result of this new group of people who were, yes, they were Americans, but again, they were not being accepted by dominant kind of society. And so he was interested in the culture and their point of view by looking at their folklore. So here you see his books with his pistol in his hand is his book, his most famous book about corridos. We're going to study that, pieces of it, folk tales, cuentos, right? What people, the stories that people tell each other at the end of the night when, you don't have a television. Again, you have cuentos or stories that such as the Cuento de la Llorona, etc. But he also wrote a novel, and his novel is George Washington Gomez. It's a lovely novel about a boy who wants to grow up to be a great American. So today, you are going to answer the question, who was Americo Paredes and why did he study corridos? So you're going to conduct research. I posted the links already, and normally in class we would do the circle map, we'd fill it in. It's a strategy to use as you're reading. You don't have to read the entire thing. It's just looking at the information as it goes. You could do this in writing if you want to help you, and then follow that. You're going to follow that up with the paragraph frame that I provided. So that's already provided for you here. So you are going to use this to write your answer to today's question. Americo Paredes can be described as, you'll fill that in. He was born and he spent most of his life. What made him interested in corridos? So while blank, he became interested in corridos and folk culture among border communities because, additionally, according to, so you're going to find a quote from any one of these sources. That kind of sums up why he's important. His writing attempts to buy. So you are going to choose. You can read by all means, knock yourself out. Read all of 4 of these if you want to. You can choose 1 or 2 depending on what you want. This is a little a biography from the University of Texas. Again, he taught there. This is from Humanities Texas. He was a Texan. There's quite a bit about him, a lot of pride about him being a Texan, as Texans tend to do. They tend to be proud of Texas. So Americo Paredes, this is a short little video, almost like a PowerPoint. My favorite is this one though, his eulogy when he died. I think to me it's always interesting eulogies because it's the sum of a person's life. I wonder always, what's going to be in my eulogy. So you are going to be doing this. This is your assignment for today. Tomorrow we're going to study our first little phrase of, why study corridos. So, and we're going to analyze our first excerpt of a corrido. We're going to study a verse from Los Tigres del Norte. But for today, I just leave you with this, one thing at a time. Miss you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Stop by office hours if you are struggling. Let me know. I am down to give you an online session with to walk you through the any missing assignments. I'm here for you, but you must reach out to me. I will talk to you soon. Have a good one. Peace to you.